People always think moments like this start with shouting or flashing lights or somebody already bleeding, but honestly, it started way earlier than that. It started with a look, the kind of look you learn to recognize when you've lived long enough. Being underestimated, the kind that says, "I've already decided who you are, and no matter what you say next, it won't matter." That was the look Officer Ryan Keller gave me the second his eyes landed on my table. And, yeah, that was the moment everything in my life quietly shifted. I was sitting alone in a restaurant downtown, one of those places people describe as nice with a tone that really means exclusive white tablecloths, soft lighting, that low murmur of conversations that never quite turns into laughter. I wasn't celebrating anything. I wasn't meeting anyone. I was just tired, bone tired. I had spent months buried in files, interviews, sealed reports, the kind of work that crawls into your head and refuses to leave even when you're supposed to be off the clock. So I ordered sparkling water, leaned back, and let myself breathe for the first time all day. My jacket was draped over the back of the chair, navy blue, tailored, nothing flashy, but it mattered to me. It had history, it had weight. It had been a gift from my mother years ago, back when neither of us knew if I'd ever make it out of the life we were born into. You know what I mean? Some things aren't just things. When the doors opened and 3 uniformed officers walked in, I felt it before I saw them. That little tightening in your chest, that quiet recalibration you do without thinking. Keller didn't look around the room the way normal people do. He scanned it, evaluated it. His eyes slid past men in suits, past couples holding wine glasses, and then they stopped on me, locked in. He leaned toward his partner, said something low, and the partner laughed in that uncomfortable way people do when they don't want to be involved but don't want to say no either. Keller didn't laugh. He walked straight toward me. "Evening," he said, loud enough for people nearby to hear, polite enough to sound reasonable. "Mind if I see some ID?" I looked up at him slowly. "Is there a reason?" "Stolen credit card reported nearby," he said. No hesitation, no specifics, just authority wrapped in vagueness. "Routine check." I glanced around the room. "Are you checking everyone's ID?" I asked, "or just mine?" You could feel the air drop. Plates stopped clinking. Someone coughed. Keller's face tightened like I'd broken some unspoken rule by asking a question. He leaned forward, hands flat on the tablecloth, leaving faint gray smudges behind. "Don't get cute," he said. "I'm not," I replied. "I'm just asking." His eyes flicked to the jacket behind me. "That coat," he said. "Nice piece. Looks expensive." I didn't answer. "Where'd you get it?" he pressed. "Got a receipt?" That was the moment. The exact moment where the line became clear. I said calmly, "I'm not required to prove ownership of my clothing, and you're disrupting my meal. If you don't have probable cause, you should walk away." He laughed, sharp and humorless. "Probable cause is what I say it is." Then he said the thing he probably thought all the time but didn't always say out loud. "People don't usually sit in places like this wearing stuff they can't afford." Yeah, that happened. I stood up, not fast, not aggressive, just enough to meet his eyes. "You're making a serious mistake." He stepped forward and reached past me. Not for my arm, not for my wrist, for the jacket. I reacted without thinking, grabbed the fabric, said, "Don't touch that." He yanked harder. There was this awful ripping sound, loud and final, like something snapping that can't be put back together. Gasps filled the room. He stumbled back, holding half my jacket, the seam torn open, lining exposed, and for a split second he looked surprised. Then his face hardened. "Evidence," he barked, tossing it on the floor and grinding his boot into it. "You're under arrest for theft and resisting." I stared at the jacket, then at him. I felt something settle inside me, cold and steady. "You just destroyed personal property," I said, "under color of law." He slapped cuffs on my wrist tight enough to bite. Someone yelled that I hadn't done anything. Keller snapped back at them, threatened them, dared anyone else to speak. He dragged me outside into the rain, shoved me against the squad car. "Not so fancy now," he muttered. "I'll book you as Jane Doe. Let you sit for a while." I turned my head, rain running down my face. "You should really remember my name," I said quietly. "You're going to hear it a lot." The holding cell smelled like bleach and old despair. I sat on the bench, soaked cold, watching the clock in my head tick forward. Keller refused my ID, refused me a call, booked me with no name. Hours passed. He came back with a cup of coffee, leaning against the bars like he owned the place. "Comfortable?" he asked. "I want to speak to a supervisor," I said. He laughed. "You're not in charge here." I nodded. "That's interesting," I said. "Because if you'd run my prints through the federal system, you'd know exactly who I am." He scoffed. "Federal? What are you, some contractor?" I looked at him, then really looked. "Officer Keller," I said evenly. I know about the overtime you logged while you were actually at a casino across state lines. I know about the complaints that disappeared from internal affairs. I know what's in the trunk of your personal truck. The color drained from his face. Who are you? I'm the woman whose jacket you tore, I said. And I'm the judge overseeing the investigation into your division. The doors burst open minutes later. Jackets with big yellow letters. Federal agents everywhere. The room froze. Keller dropped his coffee. I stepped out of the cell like I'd never been locked in at all. Charges stacked fast. Unlawful arrest, assault, deprivation of rights, search warrants, evidence bags. Keller shouting about jurisdiction and brotherhood as they cuffed him and led him away. A few hours later, he sat alone in an interrogation room, no badge, no union rep, just sweat and fear. I watched through the glass as he unraveled, tried to bargain, tried to explain, confessed more than he realized. The footage went public the next morning. Clear video, clear audio, the rip, the stomp, the whisper. The internet exploded. Protests formed. Files reopened. Names fell. He stood before a judge days later. Bail denied. Months later, sentencing. Decades. Consecutive. 40 years. I didn't smile when the gavel came down. Justice isn't loud, it's heavy. Weeks later, I got my jacket back. Repaired. Reinforced. A thin gold stitch traced the tear, not hidden, just acknowledged. Stronger than before. Because this was never really about a jacket. It was about who we believe belongs, about how power gets used when someone thinks no one's watching, about how the people we underestimate sometimes carry the law inside them. So here's what I want to know. Was it justice, or was it too much? And how many stories like this end differently because the person in my seat didn't have the truth on their side? Tell me what you think. Share your story if you've seen something like this or lived it yourself. And if this made you feel something, stay here, because the next story might feel even closer to home.